Hello, thank you for tuning in to the Casually Molly podcast. This is your host, Molly Amberkey. Just wanted to remind you that we are in partnership with Love. With Love is a handcrafted bath and body company based in St. Louis, Missouri. Founded by hubby and wife dynamic duo Stephen and Kendra Hunt in November 2016, they initially wanted to make natural products for their family to use, but God had a bigger plan. Commercial products and the uncertainty of everything that was in the household. They decided to formulate their own products with items right in the kitchen. They made a post on social media about the products they were making, and the community started to inquire. Here they are today. Just remember that you can follow With Love on Facebook and Instagram.
Have you ever wanted to get your shit together? Scrap it, look through the lens and capture it. But first world problems are getting you down. Disabled, salty, needing a laugh to fix that frown. Well, you can do all those things and so much more. Just grab a seat in the chair or the floor. Sit back, relax, recline. While she drops another casual line. You're tuned into Casually Molly with Molly and Bergie.
All right, welcome back to the Casually Molly podcast. I'm your host, Molly Ambergy, and I am talking to my good friend and St. Louis comedian, Max Pryce. How's your diary going? Max, it is good to see you. How are you doing, for real?
It's so good to see you too. How are you?
Oh, good. As you can see, I set myself.
Your hair.
I know, it's all red now.
Love
How do you, lava? I want to know your opinion, Max. What character do you think I look like most? Do you think I look like Ariel, Jennifer Garner, a X-Men character? Because those are the three things that I've gotten, and I need to know what your opinion is.
I could see you as an X-woman for sure. I could
Okay.
see you playing in an X-Men movie. Yeah, definitely.
All right, that's what Chris Denman said.
Yeah, definitely. Like the spandex suit. Yeah, for sure.
All right, I have my leather jacket, so, you know.
Hell yeah. Yeah, dude. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. All right. This is I'm sure you probably already guessed, this is Casually Quarantined. Max and I are currently in the pandemic of 2020, quarantine 2020, whatever hashtag you want to use. So we are making the most of Casually Molly. I'm recording from my loft in the city. You are at home, and I just wanted to congratulate you on your son's birthday. I loved the post today. It was very cute.
5 years old today, yeah.
Oh my God, 5 already? Oh my gosh. How does is he excited even though he's in quarantine? What's his thought process with the quarantine of 2020 birthday celebration?
It's a little tough because like this is like the first year that he like really like fully understands like the time, like what day his birthday is and like how long he has until his birthday. So like the last month he's just been like, okay, it's this much till my birthday, it's this much, and then he's just like the entire month has been just him like telling me what he wants for his birthday and all this stuff. I was so excited about it. And then of course last week, I lose both my sources of income, so like I basically don't have any like money to spend on my birthday. So like I like all this build of excitement, and then at the last second I had to sit him down and be like, listen buddy, we're gonna have to wait a minute on that. But like luckily like he's a chill little dude. He was like fine with it, although he still keeps bugging me about it because he's just like, okay, when you get your job back, this is what I want. Like now he's like expecting more out of it, like I don't know, some sort of payback.
I think he's using it as leverage for you, Max. Like he's like, listen, I'm gonna let you go now, but I'm also gonna make sure you remember. Excuse me, because he's that Kim Kardashian pose.
He's like a female in a relationship. He's like, I'm gonna let it slide, but don't think I'm gonna forget about this.
Forget about it. Yes, exactly.
I'm gonna bring this back up in a future argument.
He actually
Whenever it's
will.
bedtime, I'll be like, hey, remember that time I had to wait 4 extra weeks for my presents? So we're still just like gonna hang out today and just like yeah, just whatever, have fun and stuff. And luckily, I got him an early birthday present, so that's holding him over. Like I got him one a few weeks
Aw,
ago before all this happened. So he's holding over, but he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He's a
great.
trooper.
He sounds like a trooper. He looks super happy in his photo, so that's good. He seems like a happy-go-lucky kid.
He was wearing his Power Rangers costume, so he's always happy in that.
Oh, what's his favorite Power Ranger?
Red.
Oh, that's hello. So
Yeah.
obviously mine was pink. So who wasn't? But there's definitely somewhere. I thought I was like, everybody wanted to be a Disney princess that year. And I said, no, I'm going to be the pink Power Ranger. And so every house we went to for trick or treating, I showed off my moves. And I thought I looked super cool back then, but I probably looked like a total nerd. So it's okay.
Well, at least you could kick all the princesses' ass and take their Halloween candy.
Yeah, I'm down. Sounds good to me. I'm just like taking them all their candy. I'm like that. Actually, I don't know why I didn't do that. I should have done it. But Max, let's talk about not because I'm just FaceTiming, Skyping, whatever you want to call this kind of call with him, but you are actually like one of my favorite comedians. I think that your timing is that. I love you. I mean, obviously we're friends, and like that's probably a little biased, but I really enjoy, we'll take it. That's fine. But I'm just amazed at like the way that you've built yourself in comedy. You have your own comedy showcase called the Best of STL Showcase that happens every month at the Funny Bone. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously,
yes. Obviously not this month, but
yeah.
but it's great. What we'll talk about is I'd love to know. I know every podcast asks this, but I'd love to know your journey. Are you from here, and did you start comedy here? What got you into comedy? Because everybody has a very interesting story with that.
What got me into comedy? Well, like most people, it was a hostage situation. I never even thought of it, and then next thing I know, gun to my head, they say get on that stage, and I do it, and I mean, just unfortunately, I kill. I just destroyed, and such a dumb decision because it's like I want to see my family again, and I basically just spent the last 6 years trying to have a bad set so they'll release my family, and it's been a tough journey. Like I try and I try, but I just keep murdering on stage, and I don't know what to do. Sometimes I go up there and I say nothing, just in hopes of crickets, but it's just standing those just nonstop. Standing ovation after standing ovation, and I just there's only so much time I have left before my family just gives up on me, and it's been a real tough journey trying to find a bad set, and we'll see. One day I'm sure I'll say something that won't just be the best thing anyone's ever heard. I don't know. I never know how to answer that question. I just,
I know it's okay.
I went up to an open mic and I tried it out, and I sucked, but it was fun, and I wanted to keep doing it, and then I just dedicated my life to it. I don't know. That's pretty much.
I was going to say, how many have you do it? You said you've been doing it for 6 years. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well,
around there.
Technically, I did. February of 2014, I did my first open mic, but like the first year and a half was like I barely did comedy at all because like soon after, because like the first few months, I was just like I went up to the Funny Bone, and I didn't always get on, so like it would probably be like once every like 3 weeks that I would even perform, because I was working a night job at the time, so like I never had a chance to do open mics, and I wasn't take it that serious at the time, so I just tried to do Funny Bone every once in a while, and then the summer of that year was when I found out I was having a kid, and I pretty much just like for the next 9 months was just me like just working constantly, trying to save up money and everything for that.
Makes sense.
And then so I didn't even get serious about it until like probably a few months after my son was born, so that was about a year and a half after I even started, and I barely did it. So I would say technically I've been actually like doing it for about 4.5 years. But
sure.
first open mic 6 years ago. So however you want to count it.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And what I really appreciate you saying too, like, because I understand when I first started doing comedy, I work in the hotel industry, and now I work usually from 7 to 3 p.m. And everybody's like, God, that's so early. Like, how can you get up? And I'm like, well, I mean, it gives me the ability to do what I want. But when I first started in the hotel industry, I worked from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. So I can relate to you on that because, you know, everybody's like, you should go to this mic and you should do this. And I mean, that's why I didn't go to the Funny Bone for the longest time, because on Tuesday nights I was always at work. So everybody's like, the Funny Bone's so fun, and I was like, I'd love to go support, but I'm here. But eventually, like you kind of, and you can comment on this too, is you kind of start to get serious. The more you start loving it and working on it, at least for me, it gets a little addicting. That I'm like, all right, I gotta go. I gotta put this work in. When were you in your comedy career per se that you were like, all right, I think it's time for me to start a showcase? Or was the Best of STL Showcase the first one you produced? How did you become into this producing role?
So I would say, well, I started produce like once I got, even before I got like really serious into it, I would like every once in a while put together a show just because it's, you know, it's just like it's just guaranteed stage time, you know. So like early on it was just a matter of, you know, wanting to give myself like as much time as I wanted to on stage, you know, producing my own show and stuff. And so I would put together like random ones, and then once I got serious about it again, me and I don't know if you probably don't know Ryan Reese.
I
He quit
don't.
before, yeah, he quit before you started, but that was like my best friend in comedy, and we put together a bar show, and just for the same reason, just, you know, wanting to give
Sure.
ourselves more
Yeah.
stage stuff, and, you know, give ourselves more time like on stage, you know, at one time, just to, you know, get comfortable with doing extra time. And then I was at that time also one of the like the main MCs at the Funny Bone, and so I was you know, it was like long before I became a feature there, and so I was just emceeing a lot. And Matt knew that I ran a show, and he trusted me because like you know, like he used me so much there, like he, you know, became really familiar with me, and
Sure.
knew,
Yeah.
like he could tell that I was responsible and like you know, cared about comedy and everything. So he wanted to start putting together a showcase for, basically, originally the way it started out was he just wanted to not be closed on Wednesdays. When we first started it, it was weekly, and he just wanted to have a show where like 3 people could do extended periods of time on
Sure.
stage to get ready for featuring, you know, because like you don't often get the opportunity to do that much time, and then you get bumped up to a feature, and you're like, I don't have any experience doing this
What?
much
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Putting 2 hosting sets together, you know, and it's more than, you know, being a feature is more than just putting together 2 hosting sets. It's about, you know, being at the next level and being better than that.
Exactly.
And so like, you know, you really need that experience of doing that much time and getting comfortable with that, and you know, it's a whole different game. And
I agree.
and then especially once you go from that to headliner, then putting, you know, then it's more than just putting 2 feature sets together. It's, you know, it's wild. But so he just wanted to give people that chance, that opportunity, and knew that like I, you know, would care enough to actually try to make it work. And so he asked if I would start running it, and I did, and it was horrible for a long time. I had no idea what I was doing.
So, yeah.
As far as, you know, like a Wednesday show, like weekend shows at a bar are easier because people are just already going to be there, and obviously
Yeah.
people are looking for something on the weekend. But like a Wednesday, it's a tough day to get people out, man. You got to like really know
Yeah.
what you're doing. So
I
spent the
agree.
first year and a half like almost getting the show canceled because it would just be, you know, like so few people there all the time, and it was losing the club money. But you know, he knew that I was working hard and really trying. And then one day it just kind of clicked. I had some help from my sister who works in media, social, like she does a lot of social media marketing and stuff. So she kind of showed me some tricks of the trade, and then I just like bust my ass, like, you know, researching and learning and reading up on how how to advertise, how to market, all that. And
Hmm.
like 1 month, it just kind of clicked, and I figured out what worked and put all my energy and focus into that. And then within a matter of a couple months, we went from having 15 to 20 people at a show to having a little over 100, and then it kept building. And then a few months after that, we had about 200 or more at every show. And
Hmm.
yeah, and it just kind of build popularity. And from there, it became like I didn't even have to like work that hard on advertising. I would just put it out there, and people
Because
knew
people
about it,
know
and it got
now.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I see. I think
So
that's so great that you talked about how it had to build, because I feel like I can relate to you in a sense with that from producing plays for the last 5 years, because like to pull a venue, to have people trust you with responsibility, to get actors on board, to like make sure they have payment, or and it's crazy because when I first started out producing plays, I was 25, and everybody was like, you're so young to be doing this, like isn't this kind of a lot of work? And I was like, it is, but when you're passionate about something and you care and you put your full heart into it, it may not always be easy. And like this is coming from somebody who even had a freaking degree in communications. Like you would think I would know, but just to get people to listen, I had to go through different press contacts and like learn how to write a press release. And I didn't learn how to write a press release in school. I learned afterwards, and I literally went on Google and was like, how do you write one of these? And then I put one
yeah,
together and I emailed all these people. And it's amazing what we have at our fingertips in this age with social media, YouTube, Google. Like even with my podcast, people are like, how did you get on all streaming services? And I'm like, Google, and like just having the reputation of wanting to work hard and be nice to people is what makes people want to believe in you and work with you. So I think that's great that you were honest about like, at first, like it wasn't as successful as I wanted to. Trust me, I've produced theater on a Wednesday night. It is difficult because you're like, you wouldn't think it. And then people are like, oh, but it's Wednesday. It's not like Friday or Saturday yet. But on the same
you
token,
find out
Friday and
Wednesday
Saturday, it's
seems
crazy.
you
Go
find
ahead.
out like Wednesday is a very typical day for like people with like Monday through Friday jobs, Saturday, Sunday off. Wednesday is like a typical day that people have something going on. That's like the
Yeah.
middle of the week is like they have like that's like oh, that's when I have my spin class, or that's when I have my book club, that's when I have my this, that's when I have my that, like that's my day to do this, day to do that. Like Wednesday is like people are already doing something on a Wednesday. Like that's something like that's a very typical day of the week that people have like some sort of class scheduled or whatever that they always do. So it's
Yeah.
really not yeah, it's a tough day to get people to go out because it's all yeah, it's not
I
easy,
feel the
especially
same way.
like stay out. And like and like people associate going to the club with drinking. Not a lot of people want to go out and get drunk on a a date when they have to be up early for work the next day. And
Hmm.
people just don't want to be out late, and so it's tough. But I mean, but there are enough people out there that is a good day for them. You
Yep.
just gotta get to them. They just gotta know that it's happening. That's the problem. Is like people think that like the thing about St. Louis is like it's actually a very supportive city. People really do like to go out, and they like to see their people thrive. And like like anyone that like famous that's from St. Louis, people are like always so ecstatic anytime you mention their name because they're from St. Louis. People want
It's
to
true.
see other people from St. Louis thrive and get big because they feel like they're a part of it. Is the problem. And people think that like, oh, St. Louis doesn't ever come out and support their friends. Like they just don't know. Like the amount of
Yeah,
people
I
that
agree.
I've talked, the amount of people that I would talk to that were just like, wow, thank you for hitting me up. I didn't know live comedy happened in St. Louis. It's like, yeah, it's like it's happening every night of the week, like in multiple
Yeah.
different places. Like the comedians like just got to realize that like they're just not good at advertising and marketing. It's like you got to do more than just like post on your Facebook page for your friends to see. Like and like people don't really look at posters like posters in like coffee shops and like all that. It's like it's you along a wall of 100 other things. Like nobody's paying attention to that. Do you ever, when you go to a coffee shop, do you ever just sit there and look at all the
Yeah.
posters? Nobody does.
Hmm.
Nobody gives a
Hmm.
fuck about that. Nobody's paying attention to that.
Yep.
Like you got like social media is the way. Like that's the only time people are gonna pay attention. And you gotta like you gotta do it quick. You gotta have a way that people is gonna grasp people's attention, make them, care about it. And so it's just a matter of that. It's just a matter of people not knowing that it's happening. You just gotta make it aware to them.
I agree.
Especially
and that's
because
why I always post stuff. So I feel yeah, I agree. That was it. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's a lot of what's cool is like it's all about like for me it was all about finding the right places, the right like areas of people that I knew would want to, like people that just moved here for college or something. They'd be looking for something to do and they don't know what's going on in the city. So you gotta, you hit up those college places, and hit up them like people who just moved to St. Louis. They're looking for new things to do. They're, they don't know what's going on. And then they're like appreciative. They're like, thank you so much for letting me know that this is happening,
Yes,
So it's
I
just,
agree.
it's just about finding like the little niche that works for your show. It's like, it's different for everyone and everything and where your show is, it's just,
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get it because I've like produced shows in my plays have been in like one was in a hotel suite at the Moonrise Hotel, and then one was in a coffee shop, and then the other one I put one in just like this space that you could just rent out just in the middle of the city. It was like a warehouse space, but how I marketed it was like each one had a story. So it's sad to say this, but there was this coffee shop called Restituo in Shaw neighborhood where I used to live. And she had just opened and she was like, I went in with my dog at the time and I said, I need, I'm just getting a coffee. And we just got talking. And she goes, well, I need customers and like people. I said, well, what if I just produced a play in here? And it was like, I'm sure you agree with this too, the partnerships that you make with people. Just kind of like even what you just made, for example, with Matt at the Funny Bone and getting trust. That's kind of what happened with me and her, and it was kind of the coolest thing that we had people ordering food and getting coffee and doing all of this while still watching a play at the same time. So I really appreciate you talking about like just what niche works for you, what like who to reach out to. And I mean, I kind of felt like I had a leg up too because I went to St. Louis University, so I was able to text my theater department and be like, hey, here's all this stuff that's going on. But now that's kind of transferred into comedy. And you're totally right. Like by texting people, and I know I post a lot on Instagram and social media. I'm not going to lie, guilty as charged. But it's kind of cool to be like, oh, I'm going to Helium because Whitney Cummings is coming here. And I always loved her as a comedian. And one of my girlfriends was like, I haven't seen you in a while. I'm coming too. So that's like one extra ticket, even though it's just one person that you can bring with you. And I mean, it doesn't hurt to share, people are also afraid sometimes to reach out to go see things because they either don't want to look stupid or they don't want to be rejected or shut down, which is kind of where I come in. I'm like, well, I even post about your shows, Max. Like, I'm like, listen, I'm going to Max's show. If anybody wants to come, bye. But to share a story with you about Max and everybody else watching about Max's show, I don't know if my boyfriend Jimmy Day told you about this, but I was sitting in the back while everybody was getting seated or whatever at the Funny Bone. And this man out of nowhere in your audience just comes up to me and goes, hey, are you friends with the host? And I was like, well, today, yes, but who knows, maybe tomorrow he's going to be done with me. I have no idea. Like, cause I didn't know what to say. Like, who says, hey, are you friends with the host? And he was like, wow, she knows the host or something. And I was like, well, hold on. Like, let's just, let's relax a minute. Like, I mean, I was not that I was embarrassed by it, but all of a sudden I have like 3 people talking to me and they're like, how did he start it? Is he famous? What does he do? And I'm like, so I had to like play it. I was like, he is very famous, a very big following. And Jimmy's like, who the hell are you talking to? I'm like, I don't know. They just came up to me. So I did what every like marketing person does. I'm like, oh, absolutely. I mean, the following, the people, the security we have to put up. I'm just saying. And like these people were they gave me a hug. This was like pre-corona, obviously. But they gave me a hug and were like, thanks so much for talking to us. And I was like, oh, you are so welcome. Thank you. It was like the weird. And Duck, the security guy, was like, what the hell? Who are you hugging? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. Somebody hugged me.
you just
Go
give
ahead.
off
What were
that
you saying?
vibe. You know, you have that unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt vibe, and people just want more of it. People just want, you know, you just have that like unbreakable spirit looking vibe. You know,
Are
just
you
a
friends with the
free
host?
spirit.
And I'm just like,
You just
in
you
my,
just you just always seem
yeah.
happy to you're always like a puppy. You just seem happy to be there, and you know you just want to give a little bit of attention to everyone. You want to give and get a little bit of attention to and from
And
everyone.
yet.
You know? You just want to, yeah, like go through and just get your hugs and hellos and goodbyes in. You know, even if it's
And
for
then
a
I'm
brief
like, I go
moment. You
home
know?
and die. And then I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm over these people.
oh yeah, for sure.
I'm
No,
done.
that's
I'm
how
gonna
it
go
works.
cry at my
That's funny.
apartment now.
It's funny, yeah. It's funny you say that. Like, I would get that a lot. Like, it's funny how like the show kind of gave a lot of the people the illusion that I was famous just because that like my it would say Best of STL Showcase hosted by Max Pryce, and on a lot of ads it would have my face, and so but it doesn't cost that much money for ads to go to a lot of different places. But at first, like in the beginning, I did like when it first started to pop, like I did put a lot of money into ads, to I invested a lot of money in it to come back to me later. And I like at that time, like I was pretty much putting all the money I made, and this I still have a day job, so I was like putting all the money that I made from the show and just like regular in comedy into ads and stuff for that show to just like push it out, because like a lot of times like it takes more than someone seeing it one time to really be interested. But like there were people who like would come to the show and be like, yeah, like I saw it like pop up on my news feed, or like I would do a lot of stuff with St. Louis Graham, and they would post for me on their ads for me on their page. They're like, yeah, I
Right.
kept seeing your face and kept seeing the name of the show and blah blah, like all the time. And then a friend of mine went and she posted about what an amazing time she had, and I was like, well, I've seen it so many times, I'll come out. So it's like it's a matter of not just like getting to people, but getting to them like multiple times. And like the more it's that out of sight out of mind thing. It's just like the more people see it, the more like engraved in their head, like, oh, this is something
Yeah.
that like it's ongoing, so like it must be good, if it keeps going and people are posting about it and talking about it and everything. And then it just creates more and more recognition with people, and then they decide to come out and stuff. And so, but because they would see my face everywhere, because all the different places I was posting, they thought that I was like a celebrity and stuff, and then like they would come up and be like, oh, I'm so sorry, do you mind if we get a picture? I'm like, yeah, what? Yeah. this isn't that kind of thing. I'm not fucking Kevin Hart here. I'm not like just a local guy just trying to run a show, just trying to get you guys out. So yeah, it's really funny, like the perception people have toward that sort of thing. But,
Hey, it was just hilarious. I was like, I'll just embrace this and talk nicely, and hopefully it'll pay off in the end. So I hope they come back. So
had a good time. Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully they come back. Hopefully,
they seemed like they did. So,
yeah.
But yeah,
that
that's exciting.
I'm just like, that's my whole thing with this whole thing is like what the scene is going to be like once it all comes back. Like it's a lot of people are going to be losing a lot of money, and so probably for a while they're not going to be spending a lot of their luxury income on that. It's like that technically comedy it's going out to shows is a luxury, and a lot of people aren't going to have that kind of residual income for a while. So that's my big thing, like wondering how that's going to play out after this is all over.
Yeah, I understand. I feel the same way. Go ahead.
We'll see. No, I was just saying that we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. Well, I kind of understand that too, because we, even before quarantine 2020 and all of that even happened, we always kind of talk about like ticket pricing, whether it's for the theater or the comedy world, or like even the symphony up the street here from me. Everybody always talks like, how can we fill in seats? Is the pricing too high? Is it too low? I do appreciate with the Funny Bone how they do those charity tickets. For those of you who aren't in St. Louis, they do like, how are they just $1 for any charity you buy? It just goes to the charity. How does that work?
Yeah, so like at the end of shows, they sell $1 tickets that are good to see
Hmm.
another show at the Funny Bone. You can
Hmm.
buy however many you want. They never expire, and they're good for like they're not good for like the Friday shows or like the first two Saturday shows, but they're
Sure.
good for all
Hmm.
the others. And yeah, you can just come to another show for $1, and the money goes
Yeah.
to a good cause.
Yeah.
It
I
used to
love that
be
idea.
juvenile diabetes,
Oh, okay.
but that the organization actually shut down, so they had to find a new
Hmm.
charity. I can't remember what it is now. There's a different one. Uh, uh, I can't remember
I
what it
haven't
is
found
now.
one in a while, so that's why I was like, I don't know, but I do think that's great. That's just an example of a company that is paying it forward. What I will ask you too, what has been your like kind of one of your highs in comedy that you have enjoyed, and then what is advice that you could give to somebody who maybe starts out in your shoes that wants to pursue comedy? Because a lot of people that listen to this are people who are maybe interested in comedy or want to know about it. What is some advice you can give to somebody who's a listener?
Wait, when you say how, you mean like
Like one
one
of your
like
favorite
specific
stories
time, or
that,
like
yeah. Mhm. Or you could just do general, whatever, like a specific time where you were like, wow, this is awesome.
let's see. Well, in a general sense, I would say like I'm always like I mean I'm there's no better high and thrill than just when a new joke works, which I think is true for
Agreed.
any comedian. Like, I mean, getting laughs at all is always is always great, but you get even a like standing ovation from a joke that you've been telling for years is like it gets stale. You're like, yeah, I knew that was gonna work, like, but like there's, I mean, that's that creative high that we're all chasing as comedians is like is that new one that works. Like, oh, I still got it, like a fresh idea killing right off the bat. There's nothing better than that. Um, I would say if I had to pick like a specific time, I mean, there's a few for sure. When I got to go on tour with Preston Lacey, we got to perform for a sold out, huge restoration hall in Texas, in Wichita Falls, and
Yeah.
it was so much fun. I mean, just getting asked to go on tour with him in the first place. For people that don't know, Preston Lacey is from Jackass, and I did a show with him in St. Louis, and then when he was doing a little tour, he asked me to come with him, and getting to perform that was incredible. It was just like one of the best audiences ever. It's just packed, huge place, just like with the nicest venue I've ever performed at. Just this huge, it was like 2-story. It was like a huge balcony and everything. It was awesome. So just doing that was amazing. And then past August, getting to do my first getting a headline a club for the first time at a Fort Wayne Comedy Club, Indiana. That was incredible. Just getting that chance to like, I mean, I've headlined like like independent shows or whatever and stuff, and done 45 minutes, but like that was my first 45 minutes headlining like like on a club stage, which was amazing. That was so much fun. The crowds are great. It's just so much fun. Um, I would say advice for anyone getting started: uh, just do it. Stop, stop like
Agreed.
dragging your feet. Like that's the like to quote 40-year-old virgin, you're putting the pussy on a pedestal. Like just stop turning it into pussalia. Just do it. You're making it this big deal, and it's not. It's
I'm tipping my
nothing. Like,
food.
open mic is there for bombing. Like, that's why it's there. It's so you can go
Mhm.
and you can suck and you can hate yourself, but you can turn that into you can either turn that into resentment and never come back and be embarrassed, or you can turn that into a creative fuel and motivation. You can go home, you can edit, and you can rewrite, and you can figure it out. Say that doesn't work. Here's let's try this. See if this works. Move things around, and like eventually, you're gonna suck for a long time. You're gonna bomb a lot, but you will get better. Like, you get better if you actually try. And like, but comedy is one of those things you have to dedicate your freaking life to. It's like the last 4.5 years. That's been my whole life. Like, it's literally comedy and
Yeah.
my son. That's it.
Which are
Like,
great things
I
to make
don't
your life awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have a social life. I don't hang out with people. I don't like I don't have I'm single. I don't like I don't have any sort of relationships as. It's literally that. It's like you have to. That's the only thing you
Yeah.
can do, like, to get better, to really perfect. Like comedy is, it's one of those things that like it's seriously one of the hardest forms of art to perfect, but it's the thing that everyone thinks they can do. Like when people like see it on like a special on Netflix or whatever, they're like, oh, that person sucks. Like, you know, they're just like, I'm funny. Like, oh, my friends all say I'm funny. I can blah blah blah. That's not, no. Like it's there's two different things. That's not how it works. Like, and if that's what you think, please go and try and see how hard it is, and then you have some more respect and admiration for the people who can do it. But for people who are want to do it but just afraid, it's like the longer you wait, the harder it's gonna be, and the harder it's gonna feel when you fail. It's gonna make you not want to get back up. Like I was lucky enough that like I didn't even go to an open mic before I tried it. Like a buddy of mine told me that he did it, and I was like, I'm going up next week with you. And like that was my first time. Was like I just went up. I had a week. Like I already knew I was gonna do it. I had a week. I I had already written jokes and stuff just for the fun of it. But like I like actually put a 4-minute set together in a week and just went up and did it. And it's like, and you quickly realize like it's just like you're never gonna see these people again. People get so nervous about it, like, and it is nerve wracking, of course. Like it's not like say don't be nervous, because it's always gonna be nerve wracking, you know. But it's the longer that you take to even try it that makes it the worst. And then on top of that, just be humble. Stop like people get into it thinking the first week they think they're going to be famous next year and be touring the country and doing autographs and get their Netflix special. And they go up, and because they like got a couple laughs, they go on Facebook and say, I just killed, I fucking murdered, blah, blah, blah. It's like that's a quick way to get people to not like you. And then if you're not humble, like you pigeonhole yourself into this one, because like you think you're killing, and then you think you don't need to get better, and then you don't get better, and then you just suck forever. So that would be my two big things. It's like just hurry up and do it. Stop dragging your feet. Just put 4 minutes together and go do it, and then just be humble.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. So I'm so happy you said all those things, because I feel like what really frustrates me, Max, is like when people go on an open mic, and I hate to say like waste my time, but they're like, oh, this is easy. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to be prepared. I'm not going to tell any jokes. And like everybody's like, Molly, like it's okay. But as nice as I am, like I will, especially me being a newer comic, I will always support somebody who's like me and trying and seeing something. But I really hate it when somebody just goes up there and thinks, and he's like, I got this. This is in the bag. And I'm like, oh, we are off to a rough start for this open mic right now. Like it's, and as nice as I am, like normally I hate when those people come up to me and they're like, what did you think? And I told one of these guys, I don't know if it was at Helium somewhere, but I forget who overheard me. And they're like, whoa, Molly just like served this dude. But I was like, listen, you didn't take it seriously. You busted through your 5 minutes. You like didn't like, I said you were kind of just wasting everybody's time. I said, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not saying like don't come back and try it again. And I'm not trying to do a public service to anybody, but I just was like, I feel like you should have probably tried more. And this guy was like, wow.
It really is. That's a real thing. Like that's something that pisses me off, is when there's people who get up and they did not prepare 4 minutes. They're just like, oh, I'm just funny. I'm just going to start talking and see what happens.
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
No, you're wasting everyone's time. Like, you're not getting better by doing that. And like, you're just like, there's people who came here who actually give a shit and are like, that are good and are getting better and are putting in the work and time and effort. And you're just taking away stage time from them just so you can fuck around. And it's like,
yes,
there's, this isn't just a occasional hobby for some people. This is serious. Like people are trying to make a career out of this, and there's people are, this is an income for people, like it really is annoying. And it's like it you try to like be chill about it and not be that person, but like after a while you're just like, all right, like you're just taking away valuable stage time from people.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, if he hadn't come up and asked me, I probably like wouldn't have said anything because, like, why waste my time? But it's like it's always you always know those. It's those types of people. They come over, they try to like do the swag and be like, "So, what'd you think of my set?" And they're waiting for you to be like,
well,
"Yeah, it was so great."
Yeah,
and I'm like, as complimentary as I am, no.
When people fish for compliments, that is the surefire way to get me to do the exact opposite. Like I'll make you feel bad for asking. I'll make you wish you didn't. If it's like a friend, like coming up to me, it's like, hey, what'd you think? Then like, yeah, constructive criticism, like like you want to like help people and stuff. When people like say it in a way like, or they're asked constructive criticism, then like, yeah, in that sense, okay. But when people be like, yo, what'd you think about that? I'm like, I don't even know your name, but I hated it.
Who are you? Yeah, exactly. Now I just hate it even more because you did this like weird thing with your shoulders and I'm creeped out. But ow. Okay. Anyways, so passionate, and now my hair's on my way. But now that Max and I got our true feelings out of the way, we're going to do a little segment really quickly called What Have You Been Casually Streaming during quarantine or watching? Maybe you have a VHS player. I don't know. What have you been watching to kind of span your time through this quarantine session, since everybody's like, what's Netflix suggestions do you have?
Well, not to be that guy, I've actually just been spending my time like creating my own content.
All right. I like it.
I just started a new quarantine stories series. I put out the first episode yesterday on Facebook and Instagram. Basically, it's just a new series I'm doing called Quarantine Stories, where I basically I don't know if I'm going to do it drunk every time. The other night, when I recorded it, I just happened to have been drinking a lot, and like I got really drunk and I was like, I'm going to do the first episode of this show. And so I just recorded myself telling a story. The first one's just about like I have a lot of like pretty like wild stories. I had a pretty like interesting upbringing, and just like I have a lot of crazy things that have happened in my life. And the first one's not like crazy, but it was just a way to get started, and it's just talking about like a really weird experience I had driving through West Virginia. So I got drunk and just recorded myself telling the story of that. And yeah, if you go to my Instagram at Max Pryce is me, MaxPryceIsme. I posted it on there, or my Facebook, Max Pryce, and you can watch the first episode there. I'm gonna record the second episode probably tomorrow, and then have that up like the next day. I'm trying to have it trying to do maybe like 2 a week if I can, just depending on how it works out. But like at least 1 a week for the rest of this thing. Hopefully 2 a week. And but yeah, quarantine stories is what I'm working on. And then just like trying to like write take the time to write new jokes and read. It's tough because like I've got my son. My son's mother has an essential job. She's a medical assistant, so like I'm watching my son through all this, and it's tough to get things done with a 5-year-old running around wanting my attention all the time.
Of
so
course,
the spare time I do have, I'm just trying to I'm just trying to be able to come out of this. I'm just trying to hit the ground running coming out of this again. I don't want to be all stale and not ready to pick it back up, where I started, or I want to be able to pick back up where I started, or where I left off. Sorry.
I knew what you meant. Mm-hmm.
I did watch one episode, or no, I did watch 2 episodes of that new show Tiger King.
Oh my God, I just finished it. So
really?
I won't
I'm only
give
2
anything
episodes
away.
in, so I'm only 2 episodes in, so I don't have any and like that, and that's rare for like I really don't watch. The only TV I watch is like I have Netflix, so my son can watch his shows, but I generally just watch nature documentaries. Like Our Planet is incredible.
Yeah. I just watched one called The Oceans. I haven't seen Our Planet yet. That's on my see, and it's again, and you're actually inspiring me because it's easy to kind of fall into that where I'm like, well, I'm home, so I'm just gonna sit around. But I watched. It's called Oceans. Your son might love it. Actually, it's with Disney Nature, and it's about these 2 directors who went all around the world for 4 years. And the camera work, like Jimmy was watching it with me and he was like, it looks like like so HD, and it's because they use like these special like NASA cameras and like special underwater cameras that the picture is so clear you feel like you're in the ocean with these people. But yeah, it just goes all around the
Wait, is
world
that
from
on?
like
Wait, that's on what?
Netflix. It's if you
It
just
is
look
on
up
Netflix.
oceans.
Got
Yeah,
it.
he might
Okay,
love
I'll
it.
check.
And it's like, now I will tell you, there is a part where a seal gets eaten by a whale. So I don't know how sensitive he is, but
Oh.
I was upset.
No, my son has already seen more than he should have probably.
Oh my God.
He was
Yep.
around. Yeah, he's been around to watch worse stuff. He's got a tolerance, but I'll have to. I hadn't even heard of that. I'm surprised I hadn't heard of that one yet because like nature documentaries are my shit. So I'm like,
Oh my
really...
God, you're gonna love it. They do it, and it's like they do a kid-friendly option of it where they start out with like a little boy and he's like looking at the ocean, and then they're like, all right, let's get into the deep shit and talk about oceans. And it's like, Jimmy at first was like, what the hell are we gonna watch? And I'm like, oh, I've got this, because I also love nature documentaries. I'm like, 1 minute, let me just zoom through here. Go ahead.
I'll probably check that out tonight.
You should.
Or just...
But let me tell you about Tiger King just for a hot second here. So it really hit home for me because not that I own tigers, but I'm from Cincinnati, right? And we have the Cincinnati Bengals, like the Bengal tiger. And so all these like crazy ass people in this documentary have like tigers on their walls and stuff. And I was like, here I am like judging the shit out of them, right? But then I thought about it, and not that it's to the same extent, but my family in our we call it the family room, it has like pictures of tigers because my dad used to be in sales and he got these as a gift from people. So people would come into our house and be like, "Oh, there's a lot of tigers in here. Like, do you guys like specialize in them? Do you own them?" And I'm like, "No, my family is just fucking weird." Just put tigers all over their walls. So like I'm watching this, I'm like, of course I'm watching this, like what the hell is wrong with me? So if you do continue to watch it during this quarantine
just
session,
think of you and your dad.
Think of me and my dad in the living room and people being like, why are you guys like obsessed with tigers? Like this is, oh, and I did a painting when I was in like the 4th grade, I think, and it's hanging up in our like in one of our like little like rooms or something, and it's got a ribbon on it and it's a picture of a tiger, and I'm like, man, I'm not too far off from these people. I guess I don't know what to do, but it's always interesting. You're like, wow, this is not the self-reflecting I planned, but maybe I can throw this into a bit at some point. Who knows? I have no idea.
That's how it works. Just take everything.
Just take everything.
Everything that makes you.
Right? Just embracing myself. Right. Every interesting detail. Just get ready, quarantine. I'm going to be, once we come back. And then I was going to ask you too, what is like one of your goals after, depending how long this quarantine is, everybody's like, obviously it's affected the comedy community. I had shows all through March that all got canceled. And I'm sure any comedian watching this will be like, oh, it's just like getting that text of being like, we're sorry, your show has been canceled. Like, we can't do this. And it's, it can get a little heartbreaking. So what I'm trying to do is like, look towards the future, like, especially even with this podcast, I'm trying to now see what it's like virtually. I was going to try to do some YouTube stuff later on, but now I'm being pushed into it because this is the time to do it.
Right.
So like what is maybe something you want to do maybe on your goals and your goal list post quarantine? It could be comedy related, maybe it's not. What's on your mind? What is Max Pryce thinking?
Well, I mean, short term, basically just getting back into the same routine and schedule that I had before it happened. That would just be fork right there. I mean, just with all the doomsday predictions toward our industry, toward this industry that people are expecting, like it would just be it would be amazing just to have what we had before it started. So I mean, I'll just be kind of doing what I was before, just submitting and trying to get more work. obviously the first, little bit is just gonna be knocking the rust off. We're all gonna be real rusty after this, and
Yeah.
which is why I'm just trying to do as much as I can, just like rehearsing material and doing this whole like quarantine stories, like recording myself telling stories, just to like just be like keep in the mode of like just talking and have that sort of creative gear just keep going and going, so that whenever we get done with this, it's not like starting back from scratch, just kind of like at least have an idea. And it's still going to take a while, but I just want to get back into the groove of things. And
Yeah.
I'm just praying that some of the clubs I work aren't going to close down forever for this.
Yeah.
There's several, kind of small time clubs that I worked regularly featuring at before this happened, and I'm just praying that they open back up after this, and I can work those again, and then just gonna be back into submitting to more and more clubs, trying to get more and more consistent work, trying to get my shows back on their feet, because I've got the Best of STL Showcase. Then I also have the one at Alpha Brewing Company that I started up a few months ago, and that was going really well before this. So I'm hoping that like that'll continue to ride out, and going to be using that to knock the rust off and everything. So my goal at the moment is just keeping everything intact that was before this happened.
I agree. All right. Last but not least, where can we find you? Where can we find you on social media? So you said Max Pryce is me. What else can we do?
Yeah. MaxPryceIsme. Max Pryce me on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can find me on Facebook, just Max Pryce. I need to get better at posting the stuff on my comedy page. I've just been posting everything on my personal page. I get lazy, or I just forget. I just don't think. But yeah, just you can look at my personal page or my comedy page soon. I'm gonna be posting all that stuff on there, and then Instagram's probably the best way. I'm on there a lot, posting all my like jokes and stuff, and yeah, those are the three ways. I don't use any other social medias besides that.
Perfect. Sounds good to me. Thanks again for coming on, Max. I really appreciate you being my first. Good to see you.
Virtually, even though it was virtually, but
yeah, it was virtually. But this is the way we got to work. I was like, if I can't see you in person, I'm like, we finally got to do our podcast episode together, so that's great. Just remember, you can, to anybody else watching, you can casually subscribe to the podcast. You can go on iTunes, your Apple Podcast app, Google Play, Podbean. We're going to figure out with this video what we're going to do. And I do have some merch. If you decide anybody wants a mug, I have a few still left in house. Casually not giving a shit. They are $13. It's my first piece of merch. We'll see where it goes from there. And then I look forward to seeing what happens with YouTube for this podcast. So we'll see. But thanks, Max. I really appreciate you coming on. And sorry that I double fisted between my coffee and my water, but it's all good.
No, I love it.
Love it. Well, tell a happy birthday to your son. Go for it. Casually not giving a shit. I'm ready. Ellie Kemper style. Here we go.
All right, Denman. Unbreakable, girl.
Ah!